Welcome, viewers and listeners, to the Health Revolution, the program that shows you how to have a life of vibrant well-being. In a world full of noisy health trends, we bring you clarity. In a sea of fads, we reveal the science-backed strategies that truly work. We explore physical strength, emotional resilience, and mental mastery. These are the keys to an enriched life. Join us for inspiring interviews with champions who conquered life's health challenges, fueling your journey. Are you ready to unlock your potential? To live with vitality and purpose? Then join the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, health and fitness expert, speaker, and a mom who understands. Let's embark on this transformative quest. Together, we're about to change the game, starting now.
The information provided in this show is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Viewers should use their own discretion and consult with a healthcare professional for personalized guidance and recommendations. Welcome, everybody, to the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, and we are so glad that you are tuning in to us today. And for returning viewers and listeners, in addition to first-time viewers and listeners, we're so glad you're here. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Of course, we'd love to stay connected with you. And of course, I would be the very first one to share that health is wealth. And that's exactly what our show is all about. But it's not just linear. It's not the physical activity. It is that mental piece, the emotional components that allow us to comprehensively lead a fulfilling life, and which is why we're committed to bringing more and more exceptional speakers to the show to allow us to have those right conversations where we can grow and have those takeaways. And today's one of those shows where I love where we can learn from our childhood, and especially if you're a parent, definitely lean in. We are speaking to you, but of course, in the adulting world, sometimes we forget the true components that we can take away and allow us to continue to flourish. We get to embellish in all those things as parents and as adults that allow us to grow. So with that, I want you to take a look at my next guest. Have a look. Meet Chaya Topas, an author, a storyteller whose pen breathes life into the essence of childhood. Chaya has woven her journey of motherhood into tales that capture the hearts of children and adults alike, turning the daily dance of chaos into a symphony of laughter. She wrote When We Visit You and Go Away Bad Dreams. Through her charming stories, Chaya invites us into a world where humor is the hero and joy is the journey's end. Her tales are more than words on a page. They're a gateway to rediscovery for parents and children both. As a mother of three, Chaya's own narrative is rich with the threads of patience, play, and the power of a positive spirit. Her impact extends beyond storytelling, nurturing bonds and sparking imaginations of all who dive into her vibrant world. Welcome, Chaya Topas, to the show. So glad that you're here. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for that amazing introduction.
Of course.
Beautiful.
Amazing. Well, you're pretty amazing, and I'm excited for you to spend time with us today. And I got to tell you, as an author, which we love having authors on the show, but I love your journey, of course, as a mom and the books that you've written. What drove you to become an author? What led you to become an author?
It's so interesting that you ask, because this was such a big part of my journey in life. You know, when I went to college, I studied product development. And then when I graduated, I ended up doing a number of things, mostly in the marketing arena and branding and things like that. And I did that for years, and I got married and I had kids, and I kind of worked part-time. And then I got back into marketing and communications and branding. And I kept thinking to myself, why don't I have a passion? And I thought, do some people just not have a passion? Am I one of those people that I'm just going through life and there's nothing that I really want to do professionally that's going to give me a lot of satisfaction? I knew that definitely I love being a mom. Like that was my heart, my soul was motherhood. It was the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I loved it. But I thought, all these people who go to work every day, are they following their passion? Are they just doing their job? Where do I fit into all this? Why am I not happy going into work every day? I knew that I was good at my job, and I got feedback that said, "Hey, you're really good at this," but it didn't give me any sense of fulfillment. And I kind of really felt lost. And I was had just turned 40, and I thought, wow, I'm 40 years old and I still don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life. And around that same time, my husband and I had been having this running joke, that we kind of use to diffuse very tense situations in our house. So if you have kids, or if you've ever been a kid, then you will totally understand what I'm talking about. And that's this situation where your kid is doing something that you don't like, right? They're wiping their hand on the wall. Why would you wipe your hand on the wall? I don't know. But they're doing it, and you've asked them 100 times, 200 times not to do this one thing, and they continue to do it, and you just want it to stop. And you have kind of these two paths you can take. You can scream at them or punish them or whatever you need to do to make that activity stop. Or what my husband and I had chosen to do was to laugh it off. So they would do all these ridiculous things that we didn't want them to do in the house, and we would decide to make a joke out of it. And the joke was this: one day, when you're all grown up, we're going to visit you in your house, and we're going to do all these same things in your house. So we're going to wear our muddy shoes into your house, and we're going to flip over the back of your sofa, and we're going to wipe our hands on the walls. Like, all these things that they do, we made this running joke about it. And my husband kept saying, "You should write a book about this. That would be so funny. Write a book about it." And it turned out that because of my background in marketing and branding and graphic design, I actually had all the skills that I needed to write a book. So really, just to entertain myself, I did write a book. And as I was writing it and editing it and, creating illustrations, I was like, "Oh, God had shown me this like full path forward of what my passion was." And that is that I love to write. And that's kind of where this took off.
I love one of the things that you mentioned was you said when I was turning 40, you asked that difficult question that so many of us have of what do I do? I'm supposed to have a passion and I don't. I love how you still were resilient enough to pursue this. You didn't throw in the towel. You didn't decide that, oh, well, I'm going to make do with what I'm already doing. But even as we're quote unquote older, you still turn things around. What helped you to stop? And because I think that this is something that we all should be homing in on. It's never too late. But what helped you home in on, wait a minute, let me reassess and let me see what I really need to do right now?
I think it was waking up on a Monday morning and wanting to cry and being like, "Oh, I'm going to go to work all day today and I am going to be so unhappy." And I was like, that can't be my life. I can't wake up Monday morning and want to cry. That can't be it. There's got to be more. There's got to be something better. And I had heard, I didn't know from experience, all these people who said, if you love what you do, it's not work. And when I started writing, that's how I felt. I got up Monday morning, totally excited, like, yes, okay, I'm going to sit down on my computer, I'm going to write, I'm going to illustrate, I'm going to edit, I'm going to market. And I was totally excited, and that's what I was looking for. And that's what kind of drove me, was this need and this desire to be happy with what I was doing with my life.
So and that is so important, and we forget that. Do you think that when we hear the word adulting, and of course I've been talking in these last couple days up until till today, the term, do you think that we do adulting too much and all that comes with that role?
I think we do. I think especially those of us who are like adulting hardcore, like when you have kids, you find yourself really hardcore adulting, that yeah, kind of all the fun can get sucked out of it, and you've got to bring some of that childhood back.
Did you give yourself permission to really explore? Was this something that you that you thought, okay, I'm really feel pulled in this direction?
Hmm.
And was it a sensation that was just that at some point you just couldn't ignore anymore?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I kept praying on it. I'm a spiritual person and I kept praying on it. And I thought, I'm going to pray my way through this. I'm going to ask God, show me a path forward. And he really did. I really felt led to this because I kept trying to think of what my passion could be and it wasn't coming to me. And then after, praying on it and really, being intentional about what I was thinking, what I was saying, it kind of just showed itself to me.
Wow. And I think that that's so profound, especially in life where, we're so caught up in the mundane and the grind of what happens in our, in terms of the things that we have to take care of. How did you have the conversation with your husband and decide that things were going to turn around? And there's a reason why I'm asking that. How did you, what helped you have that conversation knowing that things needed to change so that you can pursue this?
That's such a great question. And I have to be honest, it was so difficult.
Okay.
I was saying, we're going to go from a two-person income to a one-person income while I pursue this. Will you support me in this? And it was really, really hard. And I think that, anybody who's going to do this kind of knows, like, you're asking a lot of your partner. And we had a lot of conversations about it before it actually transpired. But I needed him to understand he had found his passion and he was happy going to work every day and with what he was doing. And I wasn't. And I was like, give me that opportunity. Let me figure out what my passion is so I can also go to work every day and feel good and confident about what I'm doing.
And one of the reasons, and thank you for sharing that, because one of the reasons why that this question was so important for me to ask you is that there are times when we have to have hard conversations within family, within our marriages. And I've had conversations with women who just feel like it's just too difficult to have, or maybe to find the right words to start that and at least have a safe space to sort through and to see and weigh the pros and cons of big changes. And would you say that it was that it was just something that you both had to work through? Was there an aha moment where you both then began to be on the same page?
Ooh, it's heavy. It
I
is
like to
super
get deep.
heavy. It was so many conversations, and I'm not gonna lie to you, there was fighting about it for sure because we were not on the same page for a long time, and it took a lot of getting there. And I had to really push and advocate for myself that this is what I needed to be a person. Like, I needed it in my heart. I couldn't go on. I was so deeply unhappy. And I needed it and I needed him to be supportive. It was the only way I could do this was with support. I couldn't do it on my own. And it took a long time to get there, but eventually I think he saw the benefit of my being happy with what I do for a living.
And I think that's a shiny, and thank you for sharing that. It's very important that we be able to have those conversations and then trusting the process.
Yeah.
So then embarking on you becoming an author, you both began to get on the same page, you got on the same page, and then the step-by-step process to get there. Did you know ahead of time all that went into it, or was it more like story developing and plot twist here and there? What was that like for you?
It was definitely a learning curve, definitely a process. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And I mean, there's so many wonderful forums, and people, when they heard that I wanted to be a writer, sent me tons of articles, and I read them all. And I just took the deepest dive possible into how this could work, and I followed all the instruction manuals. And really, it was a process and a learning curve.
Wow. So the timeline, was it what you expected in terms of really just getting closer and closer? Was it what you expected? Or was it that as you were using your voice along the way that it just you just continue to trust the process and then see what happened next?
It was definitely interesting to find out how much work it was. Like, you go to your 9 to 5 and then you come home. But when you're working for yourself, and I know you know, that is a 24/7 job. And that's something that I hadn't really thought about or taken into consideration, that I was going to be doing this 24/7. And it's a good thing that I loved it, because it really was the most work I've ever done in my whole life.
So the work was there.
Yeah.
And how did you remind yourself that this is still good and fun? And what tools helped you to stay on target, even though it was just maybe light was not as bright and immediate at the end of the tunnel?
Right. I think I had a lot of patience with myself.
Okay.
Like, I knew this was my first time going into this, and I knew I was pushing as hard as I could possibly push. And knowing that gave me the confidence to say, I'm on the right path. Like, this is right. I'm pushing as hard as I can. I know there's a light at the end of this tunnel.
So what was your breakthrough moment as an author? Well, as soon as you put pen to pad, you were an author. But what was your breakthrough moment, your very first breakthrough moment, that it just was reaffirmation that, all right, good things have yet to come?
Yeah. I think the biggest moment for me was one, when it was published, and then hearing the feedback from people who read it to their kids. And it was so overwhelmingly positive. And they're like, oh my God, this book is amazing. It's so funny. My kids totally get it. They got the message. And I'm like, oh, it's not in my mind. This really is real. People really do respond to this. And it was that, like, incredible feedback that I got from people who bought my book that really gave me the impetus to say, like, oh, maybe I do know what I'm doing.
Were you scared of the obstacles that came along the way? Were they intimidating for you?
Absolutely. If you write a book, there is so much rejection along the way, and you have to just have the thickest skin, because you will be rejected and rejected and rejected. And you have to just be okay with that. It's just the way that publishing works. And if you can make it through that rejection and, figure out your path forward, then it's fantastic.
So what did you tell yourself to lean forward and not be scared of hearing no?
Really, J.K. Rowling, because she writes about her experiences. I am no J.K. Rowling, and I will never pretend to be, okay? That is another level. But what I loved is she tells the story about when she wrote her first book, and for 2 years, everybody said no to her. 2 years of being rejected every single day. And she is the author of the most popular book in the entire universe. She stuck with it. She did not give up. Everybody said, your book is garbage, and we don't like it, and we don't think it'll sell. And look at her today. And she tells this story, and it gave me so much inspiration to just keep pushing.
Did you know that you had the amount of belief that you did when you first started out, or did you decide, you know what, no matter what, I'm leaning forward. This is it. This has to happen. I'm going to make this happen.
Definitely the latter. I was just going to keep pushing. I'm not going to stop. I was just going to push.
And I love that. I think that what's important, I love the behind the scenes, because there's a lot that we don't see. We see like the end result of someone being successful, someone reaching their dreams, but then the work behind is just something that we just don't. It's almost like an iceberg effect, that
Right.
You see a little blip, but then underneath it all is so much more beyond what our vision can be.
Right.
What would you say to aspiring authors or anyone watching the show who's like, you know what, I was told that I should write a book, but I don't know what all goes into it. What would you tell them?
Oh, I would say be prepared to be your own biggest support system, really, because you are going to have to do so much shameless promotion. And you are going to just have to push yourself past the rejection that you're going to experience to just move forward. And if you can do that, you will make it in one way or another. whether or not you find a publisher or you self-publish, if you can do that, you're going to be a success, even if it's just in your own heart for yourself.
Solid words for sure. And we're going to dive into your books. But first, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
There is tremendous benefit from preparing your meals. Now, I know this can oftentimes get a bad rap because the act of doing so feels tedious. However, let's shift that mindset. If you plan your meals in advance, this helps you make healthier food choices and avoid the temptation of choosing fast food or unhealthy foods when you're on the go. You know the old saying, fail to plan, plan to fail. So for the days when you feel like your feet barely hit the ground, you won't even have to think twice in how to properly fuel your body, especially when you're trying to improve on your health. Try and pick a day in which you can plan your grocery shopping and batch out meals for a few days, such as your protein choices and salads, for example. With regards to the salads, feel free to keep the dressing in a separate container and have it ready to pour on the day that you know you're going to eat that salad. And this is your Fit Bite for today. Welcome back to the Health Revolution. Welcome back, everybody. We're so glad that you joined us. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, with my guest today, Chaya Topas. She is an author that really knows how to tap into capturing the heart of childhood. And Chaya, I definitely want to talk about those steps. You got your book, your first book published. Talk a little bit about that book and what inspired you to be specific with the takeaways that are from your book.
Okay, so this is my first book. It's called When We Visit You. And the kind of process and takeaway is that I did face all those rejections. The way that you get a book published is you submit something called a query to a literary agent who's a middleman, but you cannot submit directly to a publisher. They won't accept it. And so you have to find a literary agent that's willing to represent you, and then that person would submit your work to a publisher. Now, I tried that and tried that and tried that, and I was rejected every step of the way, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to self-publish this book, and if anybody wants to learn about that, I'm happy to tell you all about it, but you can very easily self-publish a book on Amazon, and it's within a few days, it's a whole paper-bound book. And it is incredibly gratifying because something that you've created is birthed into life.
That's incredible. And talk a little bit about When We Visit You. What is the premise behind the theme?
So this is a little bit about what I was talking about earlier, and that's being able to infuse humor into parenting. You know, the book is all about these adult parents who come to visit their grown-up children, and they act like toddlers in their house. So they're doing all the crazy stuff that their little kids used to do in their house, and it's kind of like a little bit of wonderful payback for parents. One of my friends said it's the ultimate parent revenge fantasy come to life, because you're going and you're visiting them and you're waking them up at 5 a.m. and asking them to play with you. You know, all this stuff that as parents drives us so crazy. And it has this like very humorous approach. I know that adults love reading this book. They absolutely love it because it's so funny. But the kids get the humor too. And that's what's so important.
You know, I love when books do that, when you can speak to all kinds of different readers, and it doesn't matter how old they are. So the younger readers can get it, older readers, you know, there's that level of resonation. So I'm imagining that there was a little bit of was there a little bit of tightrope walking in making sure that you covered all bases, or did you feel like, you know what, I'm pulling from experience for sure?
It was definitely pulling from experience. And you know who helped me was my kids. They
Oh,
gave me such good tips and like ideas. And they were like, oh, what about this thing we do? You forgot to include it. They were so great like that. They were wonderful little critics. My 13-year-old really went through and helped me edit grammar. Like so it was really a collaborative effort. I came up with the idea and I wrote it, and then they really helped flesh it out. And then, the idea is that even though it's humorous and even though it's like a really fun book, there's a lesson in the end, which is what about if you kids took a step back and thought about what you're doing and whether or not you'd like it if we did it to you?
so
So
I love how they did. You know that they were going to give you such feedback, or was it just something that you were like, all right, kids, help me out with this?
they're very funny little individuals, but I hadn't expected this level of help. They were very into it.
Because that's so smart as a family to be able to include everybody, because that's almost like you have family time, but then you're coming together for a purpose. So it's almost like you're multitasking in that regard.
Yeah. I think they felt very much included, and I think it gave them a sense that, we were all doing it together and that I really respected their ideas. And so they really loved it. And so the time I spent, working on the book that maybe took away time from them, they were fine with, because they were like, it's our book.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did they ever do show and tell at school? Did they ever show just teachers or classmates about the book?
Yes.
What was that like?
It was really gratifying because I actually did readings in their schools and, read to second and third graders and preschoolers, and resoundingly positive results, like kids laughing and teachers laughing, and just getting that kind of feedback. It's everything.
Did you find that teachers were extremely receptive? Were they pleasantly surprised? Did they know
Yeah.
that you were an author, or what was that experience like?
The teachers definitely did not know that I was an author. So I think for them, finding out was surprising, as it was for me, because I had not been an author. So I think everybody all around was pleasantly surprised, because the book ended up being, really enjoyable for them too.
So how important, so the theme is obviously When We Visit You, parents, little playful payback going on.
Yeah.
What are some takeaways for the rest of us adults who just feel like, you know what, sometimes it's kind of hard to laugh. It's kind of hard to, to remember the funny points in journeys like this and in growing up.
Right. I think the takeaway is something that I've heard so many times, and that is um, your kids aren't really going to remember what you say necessarily, but they're going to remember how it made them feel. And so if we can force ourselves and choose to laugh at these difficult situations, we're going to give our kids just a better chance and a better childhood.
Wow.
And I think for me, that's like the ultimate. Like, I would like them to come home for Thanksgiving every year. You know what I mean? I want them to want to call me. So I want a chance to give them this great childhood that they have, wonderful memories of and want to stay connected.
So what helps you laugh at the things that listen, I understand just the challenges of parenthood, yeah, having 4 kids, but what helps you to remember the joyful stuff out of the experiences where things go sideways and just
Mhm.
kind of that things don't always go as planned, or maybe it feels like one big circus in the house when you're trying to get through your day. What helps you remember that?
Oh, that's such a hard one because sometimes tensions are just running so high and those situations are so tense. It's really just a matter of, can I take a step back? Can I take a deep breath? Can I choose to laugh at this? If I can just give myself that 10 seconds to calm down because I do want to scream. Obviously, my instinct is to just let it all out and let go and just will you people just behave already?
I
So
feel better now because I've
yeah.
had moments like that.
Oh my God. It's yeah, it can be so hard. And it is a circus.
Mm.
If I can just remind myself, take that 10 seconds, breathe deep, laugh at this, laugh. It will make everything so much better if you can just be calm through this situation. Because if I scream, all hell breaks loose.
Mm.
Then they're angry, I'm angry, we're all angry. If I can laugh, at least I'm not angry. They might not like that. It might not be fun for them for me to be laughing in this terribly tense situation, but at least one of us is having a good time.
Honestly, I love that. I'm trying to picture myself making myself laugh in a situation where I'm angry. I think I would
Right.
end up sounding like a pirate or something like that. But I do love the transparency behind, and the recognition that there's going to be moments where it's just, it's not going to be smooth sailing, that maybe
No.
we're feeling like we're all thumbs in handling the day, and handling, overseeing kids, making sure they're taken care of, and responsibilities and all of that. What is one of your favorite, or what are one of, what's on your mind that you're going to remember to pay back for your kids when you visit them in the future? What's one that's on the list for sure?
Okay, here's one that's on the list for sure because this drives me so bananas. One of my kids always eats with her mouth open, and the food falls out of her mouth onto her lap and onto the floor. I have been saying pretty much since she started eating, eat over your plate. Okay? If you're gonna eat with your mouth open, at least eat over your plate so then the food will drop onto your plate instead of on your dress, instead of on the floor. I am gonna eat cake in that kid's house. I am gonna eat it everywhere, okay? It's
You
just gonna be falling all over the place.
have to get that on video for sure.
Yeah.
So, well, that's that clearly a lighthearted book, and something to, just make light out of a situation where we're all
Yeah.
going through as parents. I do want to make mention about your second book, and
Mhm.
that is Go Away Bad Dreams. Talk to us about the time span between writing your first book and then this book. Talk a little bit about what went behind it.
Okay, so, right after I published When We Visit You, I was raring to go again. I was so excited. I had finally found something that I love to do, so I really just wanted to jump onto that momentum and keep going. So I don't remember if one of my kids thought I should write this book or I thought I should, but this is based on a ritual that I've done with my kids since they were little. So, you have a little kid and they need to go to bed and they're finding every excuse to stay up, and they need a glass of water and they need another hug and they want another story, and they're finding all these reasons to stay up. And then it finally occurred to me, I'm like, oh, you're afraid to go to bed. You're scared. What are you afraid of? They're afraid they're going to have a bad dream. And they don't want to go to sleep in case that might happen. So I came up with this ritual that I do with my kids, and I do it my teenager doesn't really like it anymore. She doesn't request this ritual, but my other two still do. I have an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old, and I've been doing it since they were real teeny. And what I do is they lie down in bed, and I put my hands on their head, and I go away bad dreams, go away bad dreams, go away bad dreams. And then I give them all these ideas of good dreams they can have. And they love it. It's so comforting to them because I'm kind of saying, don't worry, you're not going to have a bad dream. And then the power of suggestion, of giving them all these ideas of good dreams they can have, that's what they go to sleep thinking about. And so I'm not going to say they're guaranteed to have a good dream, but more nights than not, they do sleep very well. And if they get up in the middle of the night, you know what they do? They come to my room and they say, can you do go away bad dreams again? I need you to do it one more time. And they know, like, that's the magic. That's how it's going to work. So that's how I came up with it. And this is just a book for parents to read to their kids right before they go to bed and hopefully do the ritual. And it's all these like little teeny ideas of good things to dream about.
Oh, I like that. So I've got to ask you, how often did you notice that they had a bad dream when they woke up in the morning? Was it a few and far in between, hardly ever? What did you notice after starting to do that with them?
Very few and far in between. It really worked. And I've heard from other parents who bought my book that it's working for their kids.
You know what I like about that? It just came to me. You're setting up the stage for them to have that intentional positive talk, and the intentionality behind, this is how things are going to be. I'm going to seek these good. I'm going to be optimistic. The cup is half full. I'm going to speak this into existence, the type of phrase that we tend to hear as we're adulting. But I think you're setting the stage for them to speak that assurance into their space.
I definitely think so. And I tell this to my kids all the time, like, you have to tell yourself what you want to believe. Just this morning, I asked one of my daughters who woke up in a bad mood, I said, what kind of day do you want to have? Decide now. Because if you can say to yourself, I'm going to have a great day. Today I'm going to be happy and I'm going to be productive. That's the kind of day you're going to have. So you're right. It's definitely setting themselves up to have these kind of intentional lives.
So how powerful is it in your mind to have conversations and help kids understand when if they wake up and they have a bad dream and, maybe it's something that really shakes them up? What are some things that you've learned as a mom that allows you to have them think and get their power back? Maybe they're feeling too afraid and they don't know how to get past it or understand the bad dreams.
That's a really good question. First of all, whenever they do have a really bad dream, I try to reframe it. So I say, you had a bad dream, but it was a dream and it wasn't real life and it didn't happen. And then I don't know how many people are going to love this, but I say, it was a good dream. It was a good dream. It was a good dream. And this is actually something from Jewish mysticism, that you can take the power out of a dream by doing that. So by saying those words, you can reframe the dream and think about it differently. And I do the same thing to myself. If I have a really bad dream, I'm like, whoa, that was scary. And now how can I think about it in a way that will make myself feel better? And so I try to do that with them too.
And of course, one way, as you're saying that, one way to think about it is, we have learning lessons. So, it can be good because there's a lesson to be learned. Perhaps there's something on the mind that has been bothering us and we've not spoken about it, or maybe it hasn't come up. So that could be one way to look at it as, okay, what is this teaching me?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
What's your favorite verbiage to say to your kids to check in, especially when they were younger? What's your go-to for them to stop and not continue to give in fear? And maybe not speaking like in adult words, but what's your go-to for them to listen to what you're saying and then go from there?
If I want my kids to listen to what I'm saying, one thing I try to do first is make sure that they can actually hear me. A friend of mine taught me a trick. She has a son who's autistic. And so sometimes when she would want to figure out if he couldn't hear her or if he wasn't listening, she would say, if you can hear me, touch your ear. And if he touched his ear, she would know, oh, you can hear me, you're just ignoring me. And that actually works with all kids, because I do it with my kids too. I'll say they'll be ignoring me and I'll say, if you can hear me, touch your ear. And if they automatically will touch their ear, they don't know that they're doing it. And that way you'll know, do I have your attention or don't you have or don't I? And so once I have their attention, I can get down, first of all, always at eye level, and then, try to have those conversations where they're really connected.
I love that. I got to try that with our teenagers, although I don't know how successful I'll be. We're going to take a quick break. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this. Thank you so much for watching The Health Revolution. Our show is growing, and it's all thanks to viewers like you. No matter how you found us, please hit the subscribe button so we can stay connected and continue to deliver amazing content to you.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been showing that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
Share this with your friends and family and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a buddies network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are chemo buddies for life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
And now we want to give special thanks to Biomed Mobile IV for sponsoring the Health Revolution. Biomed Mobile IV is Colorado's top mobile IV therapy service, servicing throughout the state of Colorado. They offer an array of vitamins and above and beyond safety preparation. Biomed Mobile IV, your dedication to health and wellness is exactly what our show is all about. And we thank you for your support. Welcome back to the Health Revolution. Welcome back to our show. We're having a great conversation today, really, truly capturing the heart of childhood. Our guest today, Chaya Topas. She is an author of 2 incredible books, and that is When We Visit You and Go Away Bad Dreams. And Chaya, I wanted to ask you, what is the importance of storytelling in today's world where it's so fast-paced? The digital speed in which we are moving seems like light years. What's the importance behind storytelling, and what can we learn from it?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, especially with the way technology is moving and everything going digital. It's so important now more than ever, I think, to introduce kids to books. They need to get that love of books now before they're exposed to all that technology, so that they can bring that love with them into the rest of their lives. Because at a certain point, everything for them, I think, will be digital. We're moving in that direction. So we've got to give them that love of stories and that love of books while they're really, really young, so that it stays with them. Like these are the times to imprint.
Yes. And one of the things that I'm getting from your books and how you describe how the reader can have the takeaways is the imagination and the playfulness that we can doesn't matter how old we are, that we can include into our lives. So how can we do more of that imagination and play? How do we take those, how do we extract that from childhood and hold it tightly as we're moving through and adulting?
That's such a good idea, to do that. I think I need to be more intentional about that, and I think it comes when we can find as adults what really brings us that joy. So, I'll go to a trampoline park with my kids. Now, I can no longer jump on a trampoline because I no longer have a cervical floor. But it's finding those moments of play where you can do something childlike. Like, I love going to the climbing walls with them. I'm not going to watch them. I want to climb. I'm going to climb too. And it's being able to find those things that we can also have fun with.
Yes, and then we're staying active because as we get older, we're taking care of ourselves in unique ways.
Yeah.
Now, these aren't the only two books that are in your that you've got going on. Can you tell us, is there anything else that's happening in terms of pen to pad?
Yes, super exciting. I hope they're going to be released this year. I have 2 new books that are coming out and another 2 that are in the works. So hopefully this coming year, there's going to be a book for toddlers. It's called Someday Sunday. I think this book is my best. I really do. I'm so excited to introduce it to everybody because it really is all about my belief and something that I always tell my kids. And that is, if you work hard at something, you can achieve it. I don't like this idea like, if you want something, you can have it. That is not real life. You cannot just want. You have to work towards. So this is a book for toddlers all about, ideas of things they might want to do with their lives or in their lives, not for work, but for like enjoyment and for personal gratification. Like if a kid wants to climb Mount Everest, they heard about it, they saw it on TV, they're like, I want to climb Mount Everest. Well, what can you do now? What tiny concrete step could you take today as a little kid to reach your goal of one day climbing Mount Everest? Maybe it's taking a walk outside. Maybe it's jogging around the block. Like, you can start now paving the way for your dreams. And so that's what this book is about. I think it's amazing. I am so excited to release it, hopefully this year. And super exciting.
All right. So you're growing as an author, and and obviously you're expanding your wings and just seeing where this path takes you. What's one thing what are some things that you would love to see kids embrace as they're getting older? What are some universal themes that you think is ever apparent for us to help support kids embrace as they're moving through childhood?
I mean, I think all of us want our kids to be kind. Mm-hmm. I think moving through life as kind human beings is one of the most important things we could ever give our kids. Like, if you can be nice to other people throughout your life, you will have success in every single thing you do. You know what I mean? Just having that kindness and that gentleness as a human being is one of the most important things that I try to instill in them. And then just this love of learning. Be curious. Be curious. Educate yourselves. It doesn't need to be handed to you. Go out there, explore, learn.
Now, you talked about, obviously, when we visit you is a book for everyone in the family to just really have a good laugh and have it resonate. Are you continuing to write for families? Do you feel like you want to still write for kids? You feel like it depends on where your heart leads? Can you say more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. The short answer is yes, definitely. However, the other book that I have that will hopefully come out this year is for middle schoolers. So it's for kids who are definitely on the older side. I would say probably 13 or 14 to, 16 or 17. And it's a book about drug addiction. And that's an issue that's very close to my heart. And I really wanted to write about it. And I specifically wanted to write for middle schoolers, because even though drug addiction is something that I think parents should start talking about with their kids when they're really young, and I've been talking to my kids about it since they were toddlers, I think that middle school is when those things really need to start moving to kind of shift their focus away from addiction.
That's extremely powerful. And I can't wait for those two books to come out.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this.
Greetings, I'm Angel Marie Monticelli, host of Energize You TV, every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time. Go to Fresh Takes right here on E360 and get Reikified and energized today.
Welcome back to the Health Revolution. Welcome back, everybody. Chaya Topas is my guest today, author of two incredible books, When We Visit You and Go Away Bad Dreams. In addition, she's got two books that are coming along the way in the very near future, one for toddlers and then a very important book for middle schoolers. Chaya, where can viewers find you? Where are you out there?
So my books are available on Amazon and on barnesandnoble.com. And then if people want to reach out to me, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. It's all under my name, Chaya Topas. So I am very, very reachable.
Oh, fantastic. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think that I just want to give light to your up and coming books that you have, because I love the theme that it's very clear that you have, and that's continuing the conversation with kids. And what helps you break the ice, especially in middle school, when kids maybe appear a little bit more closed off, when middle school just tends to be, you know, it just can be like the unknown out there of the certainty and getting good grades, relationships with friends. What would help parents out there break the ice?
Oh, man. So this is my first foray into having a middle schooler. For the first time, I have a 7th grader. She's 13 years old, and man, this is a whole different world. And I reached out for help. This is not something that I have a great handle on, and I read a fantastic book. It's called How to Hug a Porcupine, and everybody with a tween should read this book because it is so helpful. It just has all these great tips and tricks for how to talk to your tween and your teen, and I found it super helpful. And it's all about just how to understand them. Their brains are just like, whoa! You kind of have to find a path in there, and once you do, you can try to connect.
And then it's almost like us trying to play catch up with just all of that, the transpiring, the turning of events, and getting with the program of being on top of everything. And
Yeah.
so yes. Well, Chaya, it's been incredible to have you, and I love some the points that you shared about things that we need to remember in terms of our childhood, and then how to connect with our kids. Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so lovely, Adriana.
Yes. And for the rest of our viewers, of course, if you, as you are tuning in, don't forget that our website, you can find us at thehealthrevolutiontv.com. That's where you can find out about up and coming show topics. If you do have any ideas that you like to share with us, of course, you can always connect with us there. If it's a little bit quicker, we certainly have a QR code for you to take a little picture with your phone off to the screen. And that way you can have a quick connection connection there. And then, of course, in case you didn't know, we are on E360 TV on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That is 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Every single week, we continue to have the valuable conversations that we need to have. And that is all the time that we have today. So until next time, thank you for joining us, everybody. Take care. See you soon.
Thanks.